So what I'm seeing a lot on my news feed now, I didn't have a chance to do a whole lot of listening to podcasts and things like that this week, but what I did have time to do was scroll social media, which maybe wasn't the best thing. And I'll tell you what's popping up all over my social media feed is obviously the Charlie Kirk pre-trial, I guess it is, and just this constant conversation about Candace Owens being completely wrong. I don't know. I haven't followed it closely enough to know what she has said and what she hasn't said, but my take on Candace Owens is that I've mentioned this a couple weeks ago about her and I don't even want to use the term conspiracy theorists, but people who approach the news with questions or skeptics perspective where everything's a question, but there's never an answer. I'm not really sure how to deal with people like that because if you're always asking questions and never offering a hypothesis as to what the data does suggest, then it puts you in a weird place. Now, so I'm kind of dealing with the focus issue here because whenever the phone goes off, it loses focus. So I'll have to work on that in the future. But what I was trying to say was the constant skepticism of someone like Candace Owens is difficult to measure. You can't ever critique it. And when you don't offer a hypothesis, nobody can ever challenge you, but you're constantly challenging everybody else who has a hypothesis. Like, it's kind of a weird position to take. So all over my news feed has been this Charlie Kirk thing. And you know what I've noticed is both sides are super confident in their position, and neither side is very convincing. Like, the skeptic's perspective from either person's, like if you're making an argument either direction, it's pretty easy to do. I've seen some joke memes about how Tyler Robinson fully disassembled his gun so that he could jump off the roof and then fully reassembled it so he could leave it for the FBI to find. There's all kinds of stuff. And I don't even know, I haven't been following it that closely. I'm not really sure. There's been all kinds of the judge is allowing some things to come out, but other things he's not allowing to come out. And the one thing that supposedly was a special angle that showed Tyler Robinson doing all the shooting and all the activities he wouldn't let out. And of course, the conspiracy theorists are like, oh, the one thing that would have told us what we wanted to hear, we can't see it. So what I'm noticing though is I talked about this early on in the podcast where the news cycle is constantly changing. And this is the first thing that's really affected the news cycle in this way, where for the last, Epstein was kind of doing it, and then they threw the UFO thing in there. But the Iran war was pretty much dominating the news cycle until now. And now you're not hearing a whole lot about the Iran situation. And I think that's devolving, and it feels to me, this is just my gut feeling, it feels to me like this Charlie Kirk thing, regardless of how you feel about what happened. If you think Tyler Robinson definitely did it, or you think if you're full Candace Owens and Israel and Erica Kirk are in it together, no matter where you're at on that spectrum, this seems to, even with the podcasters, have taken it's like a distraction from what's really going on. And I don't know if what's really going on is Iran. That's what I'm most interested in. It seems like that's been a complete screw up. Like, that whole thing is a complete mess up. But it just seems like ever since we started this war, there's been just constantly things being thrown at the media. But what's weird about this Charlie Kirk one specifically, is up until recently, you could have safely said that the podcasters or podcast media, independent media, whatever term you want to use, you could have said that they were sort of in opposition to what's known as legacy media, like Fox News, CNN, MSNBC. And those people would have been propagating the distractions, where now you're starting to see the podcasters be the distraction. And what you've got like Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens. I don't know if Joe Rogan's in on this or not, but they're all just like infighting with each other and about this Charlie Kirk thing. and the Candace Owens thing. It's all, and Pierce Morgan's another one. It's wrapped up in it as well. They're so focused on this that they're not really talking about the other thing. And I say that hesitantly because I haven't been that involved with the conversations, but that's just been my take on it because of the way my entire news feed completely shifted to that. And keep in mind, I'm very aware of how my viewing and my likes and comments affect my algorithm. So I'm very particular about, like, if I see a Charlie Kirk clip from the courtroom or whatever, I try not to stay on it too long because I know if I stay on it too long or if I like it or I comment on it, I'm going to get 15 more. And it's just going to be this constant rolling thing. So, but what I'm noticing is that none of this seems trustworthy, right? Neither side seems to be offering up a solution that makes any sense of the evidence that's been discovered. And all of the conspiracy theories have some level of validity, but so does the actual thing that the media is presenting to us as what probably happened, which is that Tyler Robinson climbed up there, shot Charlie Kirk, and left. But then there's, you rewatch the video of the shooting and you're like, yeah, what is this little thing that's moving around on his shirt, and why does his shirt move the way that it does? And those are all valid questions that they're not really trying to answer, or they don't really have a solution for. So it's weird to me that both sides can't seem to come to a conclusion, but they're both confident that they're right about whatever they've come to. So it's just kind of weird. But then I wrote in my notes, I was like, none of them seem trustworthy, none of it, and maybe that's the point, right? Like, maybe that's the point, to keep people on edge and at odds with each other. Like what you're seeing with Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro specifically, just going after each other. It's sort of creating this fight mentality, and the same thing's happening, like, not only in the podcast world, but it's also happening like in the comment section. So like the people who there are little Ben Shapiros and little Candace Owenses all over social media, some of which are probably bots that are just regurgitating stuff. I don't know, but like it just sort of seems like that's the point, because if we're so busy arguing over, first of all, nobody knows what happened actually. But if we're all arguing, if we're all confident in our position, and we all have algorithms that are telling us, feeding us more data that confirms our own belief system, right? Confirmation bias is just feeding us, yep, you're right, yeah. And then you go to a comment and you just defend it, we're at odds with each other. Meanwhile, the government's doing God knows what in Iran. Like, it's just like, and again, I say Iran because that seems like the one big thing that they're distracting us from. But who knows? Maybe that's a distraction too. I don't know. It just seems like what is coming out of all of this information is nothing but division and distraction from what the political class is doing. Like, because up until this started, there was quite a bit of heat on the Iran war situation. Trump was fielding all kinds of questions about what are we doing. The MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, has, from what I can tell, completely collapsed. Trump said it's over. What does that mean? Have we lost the war? But that's kind of like taking a back seat to this Charlie Kirk trial, which, by the way, Americans love. I was thinking about this the other day. Americans love trials. They love trials. Remember the Johnny Depp thing? And I can't remember what Amber? What was that? What was that lady's name? Amber Heard? Is that what it was? I don't follow this stuff. But then I was talking to my son. I think the big podcast thing back in the day was Serial, where it was just people, or this lady rehashing a court case. People love that stuff. They really do love that stuff, and they get very passionate about it and confident in their view. So anyway, my uncredible take on all this news coming out. I have not spent hardly any time. I don't have a position on it. I'll tell you what my thoughts are. I saw the Charlie Kirk video when it first came out, his shooting. It looked real to me. There were some people who thought it was AI. I think he got shot or something else. But I also know that the videos I've seen of the movement of the shirt and bullet exit wounds and some of the conversations about bullets and how they fly and a lot of that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So, and what they did it would be neat to see like an actual explanation, and maybe it's just not in my feed, of why the crime scene was handled the way that it was. The guy pulling the chip from the SD card from the camera, and I mean they were quick to, maybe he was a high profile guy, so maybe they're like in an emergency you do this type of a situation, but man, they were quick to clean that up. They knew exactly what they were going to do, and there's nothing wrong with that in the sense that if they were prepared for it and they had measures in place. I mean, Charlie was doing filming. There was probably a contingency plan of what happens if this happens. They thought it through, so maybe that was just what they do. But their reaction to the situation certain people seemed really weird to me. So I don't know, but what I do know is it's weird to look at it. But the same kind of weirdness, I think that's a good word. The same kind of weirdness surrounded JFK assassination too. It's like, oh, that was, the way he got shot was weird and open to conspiracy. And none of the findings ever made sense. Even to this day, there's like things that you're like, that doesn't seem to track. So, but anyway, my uncredible take on all this news cycle transition is we're seeing it's kind of like a UFO thing where this is taken over the media and it's serving as a distraction. And I'm not even sure if it's not like, in a way, this news stuff is like entertainment. It's like real entertainment for Americans. It's something for us to, it's like an episode of something for us to watch and engage with, which is unfortunate because I mean there's real life things happening there. But my total uncredible take on this whole thing is it just all seems like a distraction from what's really going on. And if I'm totally honest, the two things that I think of when I say what's really going on, it's not conspiratorial. It's just data centers and Iran war. Like what's going on there? This seems like a distraction from those two things. The more I read about these data centers, not from an environmental standpoint, but just like what do they need all these data centers for? It's a little weird. The idea that we could be it could be a surveillance thing where we have a surveillance state where they can track where we go. I don't know if this could have been total BS, but I saw something where I want to say England, that seems to be the easy target for some of this fake stuff too, though, has cars that are going to be able to tell when your eyes aren't on the road. There's cameras in the steering wheel or something. And when if you look off the road, it'll give you a warning. The question is, how far does that go and where does that data go? And, we definitely could be heading towards a place where you get tickets in the mail for doing things that are illegal that cameras caught, that no police officer saw. The government just sends you the bill and most people will pay it. It's because toll roads are that way right now. They just scan your license plate for tolls. So, my uncredible take on the news right now, though, is that it's just a complete distraction. I haven't looked at the Charlie Kirk thing close enough to really have anything educated to say on it. But like I said, this is not about being credible. This is about being uncredible. And I think the average person, there are some people who are the average person who are very passionate about this. But just looking at it from the outside looking in, it just seems like something that is dividing Americans and keeping us distracted or entertained. If entertain's the right word, but it does seem like a form of entertainment in a sick and disturbing way. So that's kind of my take.
No quit. Building their wall. While they talk about us. All they talk about us. Educated. Experienced. Still not credible. So we embraced it. Now we're uncredible.